You know, one of the topics that's come up recently a couple of times, several times, in fact, I talked about it a little bit on the radio, but actually, since not everybody necessarily listens to the radio show diligently every weekend, it was something that came up during the course of the week, and I thought I'd address it in a video. And that's the topic of Art Laffer, the economist. He was on CNBC basically saying that he felt that there was an economic collapse coming. Now, the reason was this, and this article that actually he had written was it explains why. It says tax hikes and the 2011 economic collapse. Now, he's talking about the corporate profits reflecting an income shift into 2010. In other words, what's going on is corporate profits are very high, artificially high right now is basically what he's saying, because what corporations are doing is shifting more of their income into 2010 to try to pay the lower tax rates to avoid the higher tax rates of 2011 and beyond. In fact, in the article he says, on or about January 1st, 2011, federal, state, and local taxes are scheduled to rise quite sharply. President George W. Bush's tax cuts expire on that date, meaning that the highest federal personal tax rate will go from 30 to 39.6% from 35%, and talk about the dividend rates and going up and so on and so forth. And basically what happens, he says, now if people know tax rates will be higher next year than they are this year, what will those people do this year? They will shift production and income out of next year into this year to the extent possible. And of course, that'll cause an economic collapse because people won't produce anything next year. Well, number one, I think that it's kind of nonsense in a big way if you think about it, because gee, are you going to stop working next year and just going to just say, that's it, I'm not working next year, I'm going to do everything this year? And no, you don't have enough time to do everything that needs to be done in the next 2 years all in this year, number one. So in a way, that's kind of ridiculous if you think about it from that particular standpoint. Secondly, if you look at history, history's not necessarily on Art Laffer's side. You know, the Clinton tax hikes went into effect in 1993. You know, so you all of a sudden had tax rates going from a lower rate in 92 to a higher rate in 93. Well, what happened? You know, you would think, gee, the whole economy is going to collapse, the market's going to go to heck in a handbasket, it's all going to fall apart. Well, actually what happened in 93 is a well-mixed stock portfolio went up 25%. And it went on to go up for the next 6 years straight. So that didn't necessarily happen. Just because tax rates went up, it didn't necessarily cause the end of the stock market, it didn't cause the end of the economy. And, you know, another point I like always to remind people of is that economists aren't very good at predicting necessarily where the economy is going to go or where the stock market's going to go. They can't even predict the interest rate direction. You know, you got a 50-50 shot, as I've often said. Interest rates are going to go up, they're going to go down. Well, when you actually look at economists' prediction of interest rate direction, they're wrong something like 68 to 72% of the time on a decision that should be 50-50. So when you hear an economist, whether it be Art Laffer or anybody else, telling you where the economy is going to go, where the market's going to go, it's no laughing matter.